I never thought loneliness could feel this heavy. My husband, Richard, is 15 years older than me, always buried in his work. Late nights at the office, weekend conferences, phone calls that never end. When he's home, he's tired, distant, scrolling through emails while I sit across from him wondering when we last really touched. I'm 35, still craving the kind of attention that makes your skin hum, the kind he used to give me before the marriage settled into routine. Now I'm just the quiet wife keeping the house warm. His son, Ethan, moved back in after his first year of college ended early. 20, tall, quiet in that thoughtful way, always polite. He calls me Claire instead of Mom or anything forced, and somehow that small choice makes him feel less like family and more like someone who sees me. He asks how my day was, really listens when I answer. He fixes the dripping faucet without being asked, brings me coffee exactly how I like it. Black, no sugar, because he noticed. Small things that shouldn't matter, but they do when you've spent months feeling invisible. I started noticing him more. The way his shoulders moved when he stretched after studying, the low timbre of his laugh when we watched the same show on the couch. I told myself it was harmless. Just appreciation. Just loneliness talking. One Thursday night Richard was away again. Another business trip. The house felt too big, too quiet. I poured a glass of wine, let it loosen the knot in my chest. Then another. The bedroom was dark except for the soft glow of the bedside lamp. I lay on top of the covers, silk nightgown slipping against my thighs, and let my hand drift down. I closed my eyes and pictured someone who wanted me, really wanted me. Fingers moved slowly at first, teasing, building that familiar ache. My breath grew shallow, hips lifting slightly off the mattress. I was lost in it, the heat pooling low, whispers of fantasy slipping past my lips. I didn't hear the door. Ethan had come home earlier than usual. I'd forgotten he had a late class. The hinges gave the smallest creak. Froze. I snapped open. He stood there, frozen too, backpack still slung over one shoulder. His gaze dropped to where my hand was, then quickly flicked back to my face. Neither of us spoke for what felt like forever. I was just dropping off the laundry you asked for, he said, voice rough. He held up the folded towels like proof. I should have pulled the sheet over myself. I should have yelled at him to get out. Instead I stayed there, heart slamming against my ribs, thighs still parted, hands still resting between them. The wine, the need, the way he looked at me. Not disgusted, not embarrassed, but hungry. He didn't move to leave. I'm sorry, I whispered, but it sounded weak, like I didn't mean it. He swallowed hard. Do you want me to go? Could have said yes. I should have. But the room was thick with heat, my pulse loud in my ears, and for the first time in months someone was looking at me like I was the only thing that existed. I shook my head just once. He stepped inside and closed the door softly behind him. The click of the latch sounded final. He didn't rush. That was the first thing that struck me. How careful he was, like he knew one wrong move could shatter everything. Ethan set the towels on the dresser, backpack sliding to the floor with a soft thud. His eyes stayed on mine, dark and steady, asking without words. I still hadn't covered myself. My hand rested where it had been, fingers slick, pulse throbbing under my skin. The air between us felt charged, electric. I could hear my own breathing, too loud in the quiet room. You don't have to stop on my account, he said, voice low, almost a whisper. Unless you want to. My throat tightened. This was wrong in every way the world would judge it. He was my stepson. Richard's son. But the way he looked at me, like I was beautiful, like I was wanted, cut through every rule I'd ever known. I don't know what I want, I admitted, the truth slipping out before I could catch it. He took one slow step closer. Then let me help you figure it out. My heart slammed against my ribs. I nodded, barely a movement but enough. He knelt at the edge of the bed, close enough that I could smell the faint trace of his cologne mixed with the night air he'd brought in. His hand hovered above my thigh, waiting. Tell me to stop and I will. Right now. No questions. I didn't tell him to stop. His palm settled warm against my skin, just resting there at first, thumb tracing the smallest circle. Goosebumps followed the path. Then he slid higher, slow, deliberate, until his fingers brushed where mine still were. He didn't push my hand away. He covered it with his guiding, gentle pressure that made me gasp. "Like this," he murmured. I nodded again, eyes fluttering closed. His touch was different from mine. Bigger, rougher from whatever work he did around the house, yet so careful. He followed the rhythm I'd started, then changed it slightly, pressing deeper, circling slower. Heat coiled tighter in my belly. "You're so beautiful," he said, almost to himself. "I've wanted to tell you that for months." The words hit harder than his fingers. I opened my eyes, found him watching my face, not my body, watching me. That was what broke something inside me. My free hand reached for his shirt, fisting the fabric, pulling him closer. He leaned in, forehead resting against mine, breath mingling. "Claire," he whispered, my name sounding like a promise. I moved my hips into his hand, chasing the pressure. He added a second finger, curling just right, and a soft moan escaped me. His thumb found my clit, steady circles that made my thighs tremble. "I've thought about this," he confessed, voice rough. "Too many times. Never thought it would actually happen." "Me too," I breathed, the admission burning my tongue. "God, Ethan." He kissed me then, soft at first, testing, then deeper when I opened for him. His tongue stroked mine, slow and hungry, matching the rhythm below. I was drowning in it. The taste of him, the heat of his mouth, the way his fingers never faltered. Guilt flickered at the edges, Richard's face, the ring on my finger, but it felt distant, drowned out by the need crashing through me. This wasn't just sex. It was being seen, being touched like I mattered. My body tightened, breath hitching. "I'm close," I gasped against his lips. "I've got you," he said, pressing harder, faster, perfect. "Let go. I want to feel it." The wave hit hard. I cried out, hips bucking, nails digging into his shoulder as pleasure ripped through me, white hot and endless. He kept moving, drawing it out until I was shaking, boneless. When it finally ebbed, he didn't pull away. He stayed there, fingers still inside me, soft and still, forehead pressed to mine. I opened my eyes. His were dark, pupils blown, lips swollen from our kiss. I should have felt shame, regret. Instead I felt alive. And I knew this was only the beginning. The next morning I woke up alone, sheets tangled, body still humming from the night before. Ethan had slipped out sometime after I fell asleep, leaving only the faint scent of him on the pillow. I stared at the ceiling, waiting for the guilt to crash over me like it should. It came, but it was quiet, more like a dull ache than a storm. I told myself it was a mistake, a one-time lapse. I showered, scrubbed hard, dressed in the most ordinary clothes I owned. I would keep distance. Had to. But the house felt different. Every corner carried the echo of his voice, his touch. When he came downstairs for breakfast, he didn't act strange. Just a soft "morning, Claire," and a quick glance that lingered a second too long. My stomach flipped. I mumbled something back, kept my eyes on the coffee pot. All day I avoided him. I cleaned, ran errands, stayed out longer than necessary. When I returned, Richard was still gone. Another extension on his trip. The house was ours again. I told myself I'd lock the bedroom door tonight, take a sleeping pill, anything to keep the line drawn. Then evening came. I was in the kitchen rinsing dishes when Ethan walked in, sleeves rolled up, hair still damp from a shower. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching me. "You've been running all day," he said quietly. "I have things to do. You're avoiding me." I set the plate down too hard. Water splashed. "We can't pretend last night didn't happen, but it can't happen again. It's wrong." He stepped closer, not crowding, just enough to make the air shift. "Was it wrong when you looked at me and shook your head no? When you pulled me closer? When you said my name like it meant something?" I gripped the edge of the sink. "Ethan, stop. I'm not asking you to leave him. I'm just asking if you felt it too. 'Cause I did. I still do. Silence stretched. My pulse was loud again. He reached past me for a glass, his arm brushing mine. The contact was innocent, but it lit a spark that raced straight down my spine. I turned and there he was, close, eyes searching. I can't stop thinking about how you felt, he said. How you sounded. I've never wanted anyone like that. The words undid me. I closed the distance first this time. My mouth found his, desperate, hungry. He groaned into the kiss, hands sliding to my waist, lifting me onto the counter. Dishes forgotten. World forgotten. His fingers worked the buttons of my shirt while I tugged at his t-shirt, pulling it over his head. Skin met skin. Warm, urgent. He kissed down my neck, across my collarbone, lower, until his mouth closed over my breast through the thin fabric of my bra. I arched, fingers threading through his hair. We didn't make it upstairs. Right there on the kitchen counter. He tugged my jeans down, knelt between my thighs. His tongue was slow at first, teasing, then insistent, circling, pressing. I bit my lip to keep quiet, but a moan escaped anyway. He looked up at me, eyes dark, and whispered, "Let me hear you, please." I did. I let go, hips rocking against his mouth, until the pleasure built sharp and fast and I came with his name on my lips, trembling. He stood, kissed me deep so I could taste myself on him. Then he lifted me again, carried me to the living room couch. I straddled him, guided him inside me, slow at first, savoring every inch. We moved together, deep, steady, eyes locked. No rush. Just the rhythm of breath and bodies and something that felt dangerously close to love. Afterward we lay tangled. His heartbeat under my cheek. He traced patterns on my back. "I don't want this to be just sex," he murmured. "I want you. All of you." I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the truth was clawing its way up. I wanted him too. More than I'd wanted anyone in years. And that terrified me. Because Richard would be home in 3 days. 3 days passed like a fever dream. Richard's flight was delayed, then delayed again. "Mechanical issue," he said over the phone, sounding exhausted. I should have felt relieved for the extra time. Instead, every hour with Ethan felt stolen, dangerous, addictive. We didn't speak about the future. We just took what we could. Mornings in the shower, water cascading while his hands mapped every inch of me. Afternoons on the couch, slow and languid, learning each other's rhythms. Nights in my bed, our bed, where he whispered things no stepson should ever say, things that made my chest ache with something too big to name. I stopped pretending it was just sex. When he looked at me across the room, when he brushed my hair behind my ear and murmured, "I love you," like it was the most natural thing in the world, I felt it echo back. Quietly at first, then louder. The morning Richard was supposed to return, I woke up tangled in Ethan's arms. Sunlight cut through the blinds. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, text from his dad. "Landed early. Home in 20. Panic hit fast. We scrambled. Sheets stripped, windows opened, coffee started. Ethan kissed me once, hard, desperate, before disappearing to his room. I stood in the kitchen, heart hammering, trying to look like a wife waiting for her husband. Richard walked in looking worn, suitcase in hand. He kissed my cheek, said he missed me, asked about the week. I answered on autopilot. Ethan came down, casual, said hello like nothing had changed. The three of us sat at the table for breakfast. Normal. Domestic. Ways. That night Richard wanted me. Let him. It was mechanical, familiar, empty. I closed my eyes and saw Ethan's face. Guilt burned, but not enough to stop the truth that had rooted deep. I didn't want this marriage anymore. I wanted the boy sleeping down the hall. The next afternoon Richard went to the office to catch up. The house emptied. Ethan found me in the laundry room folding towels, the same ones he'd carried that first night. He didn't speak. Just stepped behind me, hands on my hips, lips at my ear. "Tell me to stop." I turned in his arms. "I can't." We kissed like we were drowning. Clothes came off in a rush. Right there against the dryer. He lifted me, entered me in one slow thrust. We moved hard, fast, desperate. My nails scored his back. His mouth muffled my cries. When we finished, shaking, he held me like he was afraid I'd disappear. "I'm leaving him," I whispered against his neck. He pulled back, searched my face. "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." That evening I waited until Richard came home. We sat in the living room. Ethan upstairs, door closed, listening. I told Richard everything. Not the graphic details. Just the truth. I was in love with someone else. That someone was his son. That the marriage had died long before Ethan ever touched me. That I was sorry for the pain, but I wasn't sorry for feeling alive again. Richard stared, face draining of color. Then he stood, walked out without a word. The front door closed softly behind him. Minutes later his car started, tires crunching gravel, fading down the street. Ethan came downstairs. He didn't ask questions. He just held me while I cried, relief, grief, fear, all at once. We didn't rush into anything permanent. He still had school. I still had to figure out divorce, money, the wreckage. But we were together. Openly. No more hiding. Some nights I still wake up wondering if I ruined too many lives. Then Ethan pulls me close, kisses my temple and murmurs, "You saved mine." And in those quiet moments I know I chose right. Because love, real love, doesn't always follow the rules. Sometimes it breaks them. And sometimes that's the only way to find your way home.